Chapter 10. The Truth That Won't Stay Hidden. Rosalina stood frozen on the park path long after Victoria had walked away. The words echoed again and again inside her head. Adrian was willing to destroy someone else's life. For love. What did that even mean? Rosalina slowly began walking again, but her thoughts were racing too fast to keep up with her steps. Adrian. Destroy someone's life? That didn't sound like the man she knew. The Adrian she had come to know was calm, protective, and careful with his decisions. He was someone who thought through every detail before acting. Yet Victoria had said those words with such certainty, such confidence, as if she knew something Rosalina didn't. And maybe she did. By the time Rosalina arrived home, her head felt heavy. The quiet house only made her thoughts louder. She placed her bag on the table and walked into the living room slowly. For a long moment, she just stood there, trying to make sense of everything. Her eyes drifted toward the bookshelf near Adrian's office door. Most of the books there were about business and finance, but there were also old photo frames. Rosalina had never really paid much attention to them before. Adrian wasn't the type of man who kept many personal photos around, but today something pulled her toward them. She stepped closer. One frame contained a photo of Adrian with several business partners. Another one showed Adrian with his parents. And then, her hands stopped. There was an empty frame. The glass was still there, but the picture inside had clearly been removed. Rosalina frowned. That was strange. She had seen that frame before. She just couldn't remember what photo had been inside. Her fingers lightly touched the edge of the frame. Was it Victoria? Before she could think more about it, the sound of the front door opening made her jump slightly. Adrian had returned home earlier than usual. Rosalina? His voice came from the hallway. She quickly stepped away from the shelf. In here, she replied. Adrian walked into the living room and stopped when he saw her. For a moment, he studied her face carefully. You look tired, he said. Rosalina gave a small smile. I went for a walk. Adrian nodded slowly. Then his gaze moved briefly toward the bookshelf behind her. A faint crease appeared between his eyebrows. You've been standing here for a while? Rosalina hesitated. Not really. Adrian stepped closer. His presence always filled the room in a quiet but powerful way. Something on your mind? He asked. Rosalina watched him carefully. Part of her wanted to tell him about Victoria, about what she had said in the park. But another part of her hesitated. Instead, she asked something else. Adrian, do you believe people can change? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean? I mean, Rosalina said slowly, choosing her words carefully. If someone did something terrible in the past, do you think they can become a better person later? Adrian was silent for a moment. His eyes searched her face. Why are you asking that? Rosalina looked away slightly. Just curious. Adrian studied her for a few seconds longer before answering. Yes, he said quietly. I believe people can change. Rosalina nodded slowly. But the past doesn't disappear, Adrian added. His voice had become more serious. It always leaves consequences. Rosalina felt her stomach tighten slightly. Consequences. Victoria's words echoed again. Adrian was willing to destroy someone else's life. Before Rosalina could continue the conversation, Adrian suddenly spoke again. Did you see Victoria today? Rosalina's heart skipped. You know I did. Adrian sighed quietly. She contacted me. Rosalina felt a small wave of frustration rise inside her. So she tells you when she talks to me? No, Adrian replied calmly. I know her well enough to guess. Rosalina crossed her arms slightly. She approached me in the park. Adrian's expression immediately hardened. What did she say? Rosalina watched him carefully. She said you didn't tell me everything about your past. Adrian didn't react immediately, but Rosalina noticed the tension in his shoulders. And? He asked. She said you were willing to destroy someone else's life for love. The moment the words left Rosalina's mouth, the atmosphere in the room changed. Adrian went completely still. Rosalina felt her heartbeat quicken. "Is that true?" she asked quietly. Adrian looked at her. His eyes were unreadable. "Victoria enjoys exaggerating things," he said. "That's not an answer." Adrian ran a hand through his hair. "Rosalina, yes? There are parts of my past that are complicated." Rosalina's chest tightened. "But they have nothing to do with you." "Everything about your life has something to do with me," she said softly. "I'm your wife." Adrian looked at her again, and this time there was something different in his expression. Something conflicted. "Some things are better left in the past," he said. Rosalina felt disappointment settle heavily in her chest. "So you won't tell me?" Adrian hesitated. "Not right now." Rosalina nodded slowly. She didn't argue, she didn't push further, but the silence between them felt colder now. Later that evening, Rosalina sat alone in the bedroom. The conversation with Adrian kept replaying in her mind. Some things are better left in the past. That wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was the answer he had given. Rosalina walked toward the window and looked out at the darkening sky. Her marriage to Adrian had started as a contract, but somewhere along the way, she had fallen in love with him. And now she was realizing something painful. Loving someone meant trusting them, and right now, she wasn't sure if Adrian trusted her enough to tell the truth. Meanwhile, Adrian stood alone in his office downstairs. His phone lay on the desk in front of him. The screen displayed a message. From Victoria. "We need to talk." Adrian stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed a short reply. "There's nothing left to discuss." A few seconds later, another message appeared. "You should tell your wife the truth before someone else does." Adrian's jaw tightened. His fingers hovered over the phone, but he didn't respond. Instead, he placed the phone face down on the desk and leaned back in his chair. The past he had worked so hard to bury was beginning to rise again. And this time, it might destroy everything he had built with Rosalina.